Hey guys, welcome back to Sketch-A-Day. I'm Spencer Nugent, and last time, hopefully you watched the video last time, but if you missed it, you can always click the link here, well actually here, and you can watch that video and check it out. And today we're going to take a look at the anatomy of a car and how to kind of translate that into perspective. So let's get right into it. So I have here with me a couple printouts of some cars. I think this is a Bentley, Fiat, pickup truck here, it's a Nissan, and let's get rid of this sheet of paper, and an Audi A6. So just a couple different examples of different cars and car types, and the reason I have these is to just take, we're just going to observe and see if we can learn something from the proportion of these cars. Because I'm using tracing paper, I can put this sketch underneath and we can start to analyze. So if I take a look at this Rolls Royce, and much like drawing a lot of other things, we want to take kind of an elementary piece of the object and use that to measure proportionally. So let's look at the wheel. And I'm going to represent the wheel by a circle, something like this. Okay, that's important. And now I can start to look at other aspects of this vehicle. For example, let's now mark in the lower rocker panel here and the main body line on the top of our car with the hood. Something like that here in green. If that's not showing up too well, I may go ahead and just use black for this part. Okay, so there's my body line rocker panel. Couple things, right? There's a small amount of attitude to this rocker panel, okay, meaning that there's a little bit of an angle to this, the same with the body. So cars generally have a directionality to them in the form that's generated. So if your form's pretty static, something's going to seem off. Cars are one of those things that are ubiquitous. We see them all the time, and it's really easy for people to see very subtle differences from car to car. So it's important to understand proportionally and design-wise how car designers approach their vehicles. So the next thing is I can look at the height of this wheel. Okay, that's the H, height. And I'm going to use my super fancy finger calipers here and look at the height of this wheel. Now if I take my super fancy finger caliper, let's extend this measurement over, okay, something like that, and I go up to the top, okay, the top of the wheel ordinarily would be there. And if let's say we actually finished out the body of this convertible, right, and I had a wheel here, let's do it in red so you can see. If I had a wheel at that point, it would be about so high. Now, one trick or thing that car design sketches do is they shrink what's called the greenhouse, or I think it's greenhouse, or cab of the vehicle. We'll just call it the cab. And what I mean is this height in this photo, this is real. But in a car sketch, it may be something more like this, right? To introduce a little bit more drama to the vehicle. The other thing is the car might be lower to the ground, again to help with the dramatic emotional effect of that drawing. In any case, the measurement here you could say is about 2/3 of a wheel. Let's see how many wheels are between the centers of each of these wheels. So super duper finger caliper right here, you can go 1, 2, 3.5. So this car happens to be 3.5 wheels from axle to axle. Okay, important to note. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.5 if I go from axle to axle, okay, right there. And that's important again because we can take that relationship and translate it into perspective fairly easily. Now if I were to take the front view of this car, which I don't have, I would find that it's about 3 wheels wide. And that varies from vehicle to vehicle. It might be more or less than that, but easy, quick, proportional relationship that we can decipher from this car. Let's take a look at this Fiat and see how our proportion changes. And we'll do the same thing. Got my ground line, my wheel, okay. Center of wheel, just like that. Body line. Super calipers, let's go up. Okay, so these wheels on this car are a little bit small. Okay, smaller. And the reason I can tell is with my super calipers, if I go here and if I were to draw a cross, I'm actually more than a wheel. So this car, for example, is 1 and a little bit in terms of wheel height. Or if I took the body height actually and did the wheel here, you'd see that I'm still about 2/3 of the way in. So my mistake, still proportionally similar. But there does seem to be a little bit more meat, we'll call it, above this wheel to the main body line or the bottom of the cab here, okay? There's still a little attitude from front to back. And let's see how many wheels we are from side to side between the axles, okay? I've got 1, 2, looks like I'm 3 wheels this time. So a little bit shorter wheelbase. Instead of having that elongated wheelbase that we had on the Bentley, we've got a little bit shorter wheelbase proportionally. If I make the wheels bigger, it also helps with the drama or the emotional impact of the vehicle sketch. So if I were to increase these wheel sizes, for example, I may have less than 3 wheels. Wait, that's more than. I may have less than 3 wheels, okay, between those axles. So there's the example of a Fiat. So let's take a look at this pickup truck, and hopefully you can kind of see and are getting the rhythm here of what's happening. Wheel, wheel, ground, center of wheels, main body line, super calipers, 1, 2, 3.5, and we go like that. It's about here. I'm about 2/3, okay, above this main body line. And we can also look at the meat. Now with a truck, there's also something interesting, which is there's more room in the wheel well. This is what's called the wheel well. I'll just do WW. With the wheel well, there's a little bit more room above the wheel to the top of this well, okay. There's still attitude to this body, okay. And so we end up with something like this, okay. And last but not least, let's look at a normal sedan, something that's not too elongated, and let's see what we end up with. So I have here an Audi A6. So we go wheel, wheel, center, 1, 2, 3. So 3 wheels, okay. 3.5, my bad. 3.5. So this one's still a little bit elongated. And then above the body, okay, this cab is actually a little bit shorter in terms of height. So I would say we're less than, I keep doing that, less than 1 or 2/3 of a wheel high. Okay, so what does this have to do with our drawing techniques and drawing methods? Well, if I'm designing a car, it's important for me to know approximately how far apart to put these wheels. So now if I check, because I've been doing this for a little bit, and if I draw this line through, I've got center of my wheels, and from wheel to wheel, from axle rather, here's my axle, to axle I go 1, 2, 3. 3 wheels. And that may be fine if I'm doing something like a sedan. So now I can have some meat above my wheel well where it would be. And there's some attitude, okay, to this shape from front to back. The other thing you'll notice, which I didn't point out, is that not only can we measure the distance between our wheels, but there's something common in these sketches, and that is what's called the A pillar, or front of the car. Okay, that line is pointing pretty much toward the center of that front wheel. Okay. The other thing you'll notice is that the B pillar, or the back of the car, tends to come in right at the back edge of that wheel. And we can look at that on a few other examples as well if you wanted to, or do it yourself. But that's kind of what happens. You've got the A pillar and the B pillar relationship, shooting toward the center of the wheel and resting just above the back wheel. So as I draw my housing here, or my cab rather, I can pretty much mark, right, just on the back side of that wheel, shooting toward the front of this wheel, or toward the center of the front wheel rather, and then come off like so toward the back. Okay, and I would have a decent side view of a car. Okay, and it's really important to know this stuff again, because understanding the proportional relationship of these things is going to help you then sketch them in a fairly realistic way with realistic proportions. Well, thanks again for watching, guys. I know this has been a short one, but again, really important. So if there were any homework for you to do, it would be to draw from observation. So take some pictures of some cars, see if you can pick apart and look at the proportional relationship of these elements for yourself so that you can make that discovery. And then take some time to practice some side views. Start with your wheels, space them appropriately, and then start to fill in some car around that. And hopefully you're able to play with some proportions and different elements as you look at different vehicle types. Next time we'll be taking a look at how to then translate this into perspective so that we can actually do a hopefully cool car sketch. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button. That way you'll get an update in your inbox, your email inbox, whenever I post videos, which I do every day. And you can also find me on Instagram at sketchaday.com, sketchaday, D-O-T-C-O-M, or you can find me at facebook.com/sketchaday. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Sketchaday.